This episode of Bend the Knee is brought to you by Sir Dustin of House Walls, Captain of the Guard. His watch is constant.
Hello and welcome to Bend the Knee, a Song of Ice and Fire podcast. I am Sir Matt, the Bud Knight.
And I am Sir Ezra, the Watchful. Welcome to our Song of Ice and Fire book club. Today, we are into Chapter 53, Bran 6 of A Game of Thrones. And in Fire and Blood, we will be discussing The Dying of the Dragons, A Son for a Son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things are heating up in the Dance of Dragons, to say the least.
Heating up. That's funny. Yeah, they are. They definitely are. Wow, my friend. How you doing, first of all?
Woo! Man, I posted on the Facebook group, said, guys, we're recording like 4 hours worth of content tonight. Wow, this is what we do. This is what, it's Saturday night and, other people are out drinking and partying, but I'm recording, so I'm having a hell of a great Saturday night.
Yeah, you are.
This is what I live for, man. So
Me too.
I'm all kinds of pumped.
We actually just did a fantastic, at least for us, we had a fun time.
Oh, yeah, it was great. That may honestly be my favorite theory we've ever done.
Yeah, just a great green dream. So got to check that out on patreon.com/bend the knee. It was a lot of fun. I think you and I kind of solidified a lot of what we think happened during the long night and what have you. Because we had a great discussion about who the Night King is.
The Isle of Faces, the God's Eye, some Season 8 stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's just real quick, not a spoiler, but just a teaser. We talk a lot about what is going on, Sir Ezra, with the White Walkers and these symbols.
Oh yeah.
So we break that down in that. So be sure to check that out.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. So there is that. I also want to give a special shout out here. We have a new captain of the guard, as you heard at the top of the show. So Sir Dustin has been helping us out there, and we've recently reached out to him, and just happy to have him. In the realm, part of the community. So.
Yeah, he's gonna be a Facebook group moderator, which is great because, man, I don't know about you, Sir Ezra, but did something happen? Because
yeah.
Did HBO? Was there some news or like a trailer a week ago or something? Because
I don't know.
Man, my phone has been blowing up with people liking the Facebook page and the group, and our downloads I think tripled. So.
Yeah, it's been great, and so welcome to all of our new listeners and subscribers. I mean, we're glad you're here, and we want you to reach out to us on the Facebook group and send us a raven. I mean, we're actually amassing a huge amount of ravens, and we may have to bring back Follow Up Friday just to get some of them done. So we'll see how that goes. But man, I'm excited, real excited.
Yeah, I feel rested. Sir, did you? Yeah, because we kind of took last week off because we just had a scheduling conflict, so we released that extra episode to kind of fill the void there with the Night King. And so, man, I went and got a massage. I feel rested because the sprint with Season 8 is coming. And winter is here, and it's going to be all hands on deck. Sir Ezra and I'm loaded up on chamomile tea.
There you go. Yeah.
Because you and I are going to be recording a lot.
Yes, we are.
In these next couple of weeks. And Season 8 happens to be coming out at probably the worst time for us because you're going to the Star Wars celebration.
Yeah.
I have like a mini vacation, like a wedding I'm going to that's like 5 hours away.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be like sprinting back one day to or possibly watching like the episode on my phone while I'm like riding in the car.
Hey,
So like whatever we gotta do to get it done is whatever we will do.
That's right. We will
because we're Bend the Knee. Okay, we're not some other Game of Thrones podcast like Bend the Knee.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Oh my gosh, it's great. It's great. It is great. And it's a great time to be reading the series and the TV shows. We got multiple on the horizon. So we got the season finale and just a lot of good stuff. So I mean, if you're kind of like, I don't know, it's the end. I'm getting into podcasting. I just hopped in and met you guys. We still have a whole book series to get through. We've got other great TV shows coming out later too. So I don't know, man. It's just gonna be
we're gonna be here for we're gonna be here for the next 30 years, and GURP still probably won't have finished Winds of Winter by then, but we'll still be here.
We're trying to get him to hand it over to us so we can finish it for him. So I'm just kidding. Okay. So some exciting things here. Just still want a couple other plugs here. Another special shout out, if this is allowed, Sir Matt.
Yeah, I suppose.
Just bend the knee, everyone. Shout out to to our, we got some folks out there sharing the podcast and helping us out
on their social media and stuff. I really appreciate it.
We really appreciate that. So one of those folks,
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, just Annie. I wanted to say shout out to Lady Annie. For just showing us some love out there. I don't know. It's great. Feels good.
Yeah. Sometimes I follow a lot of our listeners and stuff on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. And sometimes I'll just get on Instagram or get notified of something and somebody shared something. And that it's crazy for me to think about, that it's like, because you and I sit down, you and I'd be talking about this stuff if one person was listening, or now like 10,000 people were listening. So, so it's awesome. I really, really, really appreciate it. So
yeah, we do. You guys are awesome. So
all right, we better start diving into some content. So some news, Sir Ezra. So season 8 episode runtimes were released. You and I did kind of a musing on Patreon about that, but just kind of a quick kind of brief rundown on those. Looks like episodes 1 and 2 are going to be about standard time, and then after that is when they're going to get longer. So you have episode 3, 4, 5, and 6, which are all around an hour and 20 minutes or so. So it's going to be exciting. We broke down on that musing what we think is kind of going to happen, but it's cool. We're getting more and more info every day. I don't think we're going to get another trailer. I don't think we're going to get another trailer or another TV spot. I think they want to keep everything under wraps as much as possible.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's fine.
And don't you remember around this time, like in seasons past, things were leaked? Like you could just watch full episodes.
Yes, I do. Oh my gosh, yes.
Because you and I think was it season? It would have been season 6.
Yeah.
Right. Where season 6 where we had like full episodes were like available to torrent and stuff online, like while the season was going. Like you could watch I think it was like we were at season 2 was episode 2 was airing and like episode 4 was already out, and so we were like, what, like online? So because I may or may not used to have like torrent stuff and
sorry,
Sheraza and LimeWire episodes. So
that's funny. That is funny.
That's why I had to buy a new computer. So
yeah. I remember that though. I hope none of that crap happens. I honestly am cool with just
I'm not getting spoiled. I want to watch it the way it's supposed to be watched this year, using using the hard earned money of my brother's HBO account. So
there it is.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I really appreciate.
Oh man. So that's cool. That's the runtime thing. Like I said, check that out on Patreon. That was we got into really what we thought was going to happen. We're starting to formulate, I guess, our final predictions for season 8. So go check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Should we dive into the?
Let's dive into Fire and Blood here. A Son for a Son, and it's heating up as Sir Matt said, and we had the coronation of Aegon earlier last chapter, and this kind of we start off. I don't know if you want to just read some of this, but it starts right off with Rhaenyra's coronation.
Yeah, the dying of the dragons, a son for a son. Aegon had been proclaimed king in the Dragon Pit. Rhaenyra, queen on Dragonstone. All efforts at reconciliation having failed, the dance of the dragons now began in earnest. On Driftmark, the Sea Snake's ships set sail from Hull and Spicetown to close the gullet, choking off trade to and from King's Landing. Soon after, Jacaerys Valerian was flying north upon his dragon Varimax, his brother Lucerys, south on Arax, while Prince Daemon flew on Caraxes to the Trident. Let us first turn to Harrenhal.
Wow.
Yeah, and things just get going. So
yeah, they absolutely do. And really it's a good setup there, because it is sort of a three-pronged, approach to this chapter. Three dragon riders take off to kind of recruit, different folks, and it has to be said. So we'll start with Harrenhal and Daemon, heading there to try and get some support, I guess. Remember, 100 plus lords had sworn to defend Rhaenyra's claim to the throne, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, where are those folks at? Who are they, and how do we make sure that we have them, kind of shored up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look here just at what happened at Harrenhal. I mean, Daemon, let's see, heads there, and the strong. Well, actually, the Strongs are still kind of bent out of shape, aren't they? About because Daemon, kind of they get insulted a little bit, and her kids Luke and Jace, are often called Strongs, and right now they're currently in control of Harrenhal, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So, let's see. The Castle Smallfolk became his captives as well. So this is Daemon as he shows up here. Let me just read some more of this so I can get my bearings here. Though large parts of Harren's great folly were in ruin, the castle's towering curtain walls still made it a formidable stronghold as any in the Riverlands. But Aegon the Dragon had proved it vulnerable from the sky. With its lord, Larys Strong, away in King's Landing, the castle was but lightly garrisoned. Having no wish to suffer the fate of the Black Heron, its elderly castellan Sir Simon Strong, uncle to the late Lord Lionel, great uncle to Lord Lars. So there's a whole bunch of history here with the Strongs, and actually I think one of the Strongs is sitting on the council right now with Alicent, right, and actually creates a pact to kind of help them out, there. Let's see. So it was quick to strike his banners when Caraxes lighted atop, the tower there. In addition to the castle, Prince Daemon at a stroke had captured the not considerable wealth of House Strong and dozens of valuable hostages, amongst them Sir Simon and his grandsons. The castle Smallfolk became his captives as well, amongst them the wet-nursed Alice Rivers. So yeah, it goes fairly smooth, I mean, I think he is able to kind of corral their support, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what's this whole bit, Alice Rivers? I kind of forget who she is. And
she's a wet nurse that they spend quite a bit of time. It's like, who is this woman? A serving wench who dabbled in potions and spells, says Munkin, a woods witch claiming Septon Eustace. A malign enchantress who bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth. Mushroom would have us believe. Her name suggests bastard birth, but we do know a little of her father and less of her mother. Munkin uses to tell us she was sired by Lord Lionel Strong. And anyway, so she has a bunch of stillborn children. But I guess kind of the purpose of her is. Now I'm losing my place here.
I actually don't really remember what
the purpose is. Yeah. This is something that to me though.
It's a mushroom side tail. It
is a mushroom side tail, and what it does though is a lot of the Dance of Dragons and the leading up to the Dance of Dragons. You will see this a lot in World of Ice and Fire and Fire and Blood. It'll talk about, well, this is something that happened that Septon Eustace will tell us. Mm-hmm. And this is something, and this is kind of the perspective of Mushroom. So I think more than anything, it's just kind of to keep adding to that idea that Mushroom and the Septon Usos totally have two different perspectives. You and I just did an entire Patreon episode essentially about the perception of how the story is told. That's something we keep going back to, is that the story, you have to keep in mind how this story is told through whose perspective.
Yeah, because it's almost like she's supposed to be an adversary that could have, kept Daemon from, getting House Harrenhal and House Strong, but all of her powers and, persuasions and stuff do nothing for him, and so I think that's the gist of it, unless she comes up later, which we'll find out. I just don't remember.
Yeah,
her.
I don't think so. I think she's just another person who's in the. Yeah.
Okay. So that goes well, and we're going to come back to this chapter is called "A Son for a Son," and so let's get to the sons. Actually, I think that's a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Luke and Jace now. So Luke actually had what was believed to be a safer trip. I mean, he was supposed to go to Storm's End and call upon, Lord Boros Baratheon there, and that should be, easy enough. Baratheon had already kind of, I think, sworn to, protect Rhaenyra's claim and what have you. So we'll come back to that in a second. But Jace has to go to the Manderleys. He goes north, all the way up to Winterfell, and kind of treats with the Starks and what have you.
Yeah.
And that goes surprisingly well, actually. He does a good job on his mission. There is a pact that was signed, correct, Sir Matt, between the Starks and what is it, the Pact of Ice and Fire?
Yeah. I mean, no big deal or anything. Yeah. I mean, and then it talks about that there is some dragon legs, right? Some dragon eggs, not dragon legs. There's some dragon eggs that may have been laid at Winterfell. Which what? I mean, that's and that's a mushroom tale again, right? Right.
Yeah. So what's that all about?
Yeah. So it talks about you have Varamax and Jacaerys Valerion, right?
Yeah, Jace.
They meet with Jace. Yeah, they meet with Cregan Stark. They actually become kind of friends. Cregan Stark will come back up later, right?
Sure. Yep.
And so because that's when we've talked about the Hour of Wolf before, right? He comes down later and ends up doing some stuff. So this kind of will tie into some stuff later, and there actually is going to be a chapter of the Hour of the Wolf after we get kind of through the Dance of the Dragons. But it talks about, Mushroom says that Varamax left a clutch of dragon's eggs at Winterfell, which is equally absurd. Whilst the true determining that sex of a living dragon is nigh on an impossible task, nor no other source mentions Varamax producing as much as a single egg, so it must be assumed that he was a male. Septon's bar speculation that the dragons change sex at need, being as mutable as flame, is too ludicrous to consider. So that's just a side little tale in here. We'll get back to the Pact of Ice and Fire first, but I just want to talk about this because I have it highlighted, and so do looks like about 300 more people on Kindle. This is one of those Kindle things where they highlighted it quite a lot because, that's like a big deal. If there's a bunch of dragon eggs just chilling out at Winterfell.
Yeah, and is it, I mean, what do we know? I mean, we get a lot of back and forth about, like what was true during this time, Mushroom's tales versus, the Septon or the Maester, like who do we believe? So
I believe Mushroom.
So half the time I do and half the time I don't, I really find myself going back and forth quite a bit, it's, I don't know. Just like the one sample or example where he was like claiming things that had happened in King's Landing, but yet he's over, at Dragonstone, and it's like, how does he know what's going on? So
yeah,
I don't know. So anyways, that's cool. It's agreed that like after the war and things that Jason or one of, I think it was Joffrey, right? Maybe is the younger brother. That some of the Targaryens would then wed, one of the Starks, and so that's cool. Everyone's trying to get some a Targaryen in their family or a dragon rider or some dragon blood, or what have you. And yeah, so that's a good thing. I mean, and that's all. It's unfortunate. I mean, again, this chapter is called "A Son for a Son," and so as we shift from Jace over to Luke, he's also known as Little Luke Strong. Because that they don't look like Targaryens at all, mocked quite often. But yeah, so he during the Dance of Dragons here, he was sent on a mission that was considered shorter and safer than his brother, Jace. And he's just a messenger. He's going to Storm's End, where he's expected to meet with Boros Baratheon, who would give him a warm welcome, right? But unfortunately, when he shows up there, Prince Aemon had already arrived at the castle on Vhagar, and Vhagar's huge. Vhagar is, and you remember, Aemon was the one whose eye. We didn't talk about this, I don't think, in the book club here, but like. His eye was, during that fight between him and the Strongs, when he claimed Vhagar, his eye was taken from him. Like, he just rushes Vhagar and hops on because, I think it's Joffrey is crying or has raised the alarm, and so he just freaks out and boom, runs, and gets on Vhagar. But yeah, he's lost an eye, and so when, Luke shows up here, he basically demands... He wants to fight. He basically says like he's going to let him leave if he just sort of repays him, by plucking out his own eye. Let me take out one of your eyes for the eye that that you owe me, and I'll let you leave in peace. And like,
right,
Lord Baratheon tries to. He doesn't want any of that crap going on here. He actually does, give a message for Luke to take back to his mother, basically saying that he's not going to support her claim, and that he is. He's a black, or I'm sorry, he's a green instead of a black. So, yeah, and he wants him to leave. Now, what was happening at that meeting is that Aemon, and this is all kind of coming back to me because I'm going. It's hard to find it all in the book here, but Aemon was looking for, to win over House Baratheon. He agreed to marry. He could have any woman,
right.
Any one of his daughters. Is that right?
Yep.
So he was kind of looking around, and I think he might have insulted one of them, and or what have you, and they kind of mocked Aemon, or egged him on to fighting Luke as Luke is leaving. They're just like, not that they called him a coward, but kind of like, you're just gonna let him go, like like really. I forget which one it is that actually. Mocks him, but it was interesting that he was so easily just swayed to go, no, I'm not going to. And he actually takes off on Vhagar and takes Luke out, man. He kills him,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He's like, I will not fight you. I will not fight you. I came here as an envoy, not as a knight. You came here as a craven and a traitor, and I will have your eye or your life strong. And then, and so.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And there's a super cool picture of them fighting right on their dragons.
Yeah.
In the book.
Right. Oh boy. Mushroom goes on to kind of like, again, Mushroom's not even there, dude, and he's like telling the story about like how how he jumps off the dragon and like stuff, like he's describing the lightning flash and everything. So it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah. So, Prince Aemon, so they go back and forth, there. So he kills him, and word of that, obviously, I think Rhaenyra is pregnant, right? Is she not pregnant when she hears about? No. That's during the coronation. Yeah, sorry, that was during the coronation. But because she collapses when she hears this news, Mm-hmm. Yeah, like her son is dead, and this is not the one that she thought was.
She collapses. When she hears the news, an eye for an eye, a son for a son, Luke will be avenged.
Right. Yeah, and Aemon is known basically from that point forward. Did you see the picture, by the way? Were you talking about the picture in Fire and Blood,
or Fire and Blood, yeah, with the lightning and the 2 dragons, yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and if you look right next to that, you'll see where Aemon is known later as a kinslayer, essentially. So this is, he's related to Luke, and he kills him. And really, what was happening, before this actual conflict takes place, it was just a lot of vying for control and setting up the pieces. No, they weren't really at war. It was kind of a war of words and who could get the most support and backing.
Yeah, it wasn't. There wasn't really bloodshed yet.
Right. Yeah. So, it's just So now, yeah, Rhaenyra has collapsed. When told of Luke's death, Luke's younger brother Joffrey, Jace was still away on his mission, swore a terrible oath of vengeance against Prince Aemon and Lord Boros. Only the intervention of the Sea Snake and Princess Rhaenyra, or Princess Rhaenys, kept the boy from mounting his own dragon at once. So he was like ready just to kind of take off and go after him. And then this is when, as the Black Council set to consider how to strike back, a raven arrived from Harrenhal, and it's from Prince Daemon, who says, "An eye for an eye, a son for a son. Luke shall be avenged," is what he says. So those are his words. And, remember, he's been very successful there at Harrenhal and is now ready to strike. So, and this is where you get into, it's a segment kind of called Blood and Cheese. So, remember we had just talked about one of the Strongs was on the council, for Aegon, Aegon the Older, Aegon the Elder.
Right, the Elder, yeah.
Yeah, and he has a Strong who's there. I kind of think that guy maybe, I don't know, can be influenced. He seemed very quick to just sort of want to make a pledge of loyalty right there. Sir Criston Cole had just killed someone, who was willing to, go rat them out or speak out against Aegon's coronation. So, anyways, I say that because Prince Daemon says that he has friends and he has ways to get into King's Landing, and he knows people there, and he can strike very quickly. And I think this is another sign to me that he was holding all of that. They were holding these things back because it really wasn't a war of bloodshed yet. That they didn't want. They are family. They are related. This is Targaryen fighting Targaryen. So.
Right. Well, you also need. You need a lot of supporters. You need possible troops. You need a lot of stuff. It is part of the Game of Thrones. Part of it, is political. Before if you can do things politically or like socially before you could have to involve armies and stuff. That's the way to do that.
Right. Yep. So to quickly get through this whole piece here, just Daemon enlists the help of a friend from the City Watch. Remember, he used to be captain of the City Watch before he became, king of the Stepstones and what have you, and allied up with the Sea Snake. And he, who this person was known as Blood, and the rat catcher from the Red Keep is known as Cheese. And so that's how we get the Blood and Cheese, segment there. And they basically sneak in, to the Red Keep, and they use tunnels, hidden doors, what have you, that brings them to the Tower of the Hand, where Queen Alicent is at, and they actually are able to capture her. And they wait until Queen Helena shows up with her 3 children, because they kind of knew that she would show up. She always brings her children, to see their grandmother, and it's like they bar the door and they force the queen to basically choose one of her children to die. And she ends up picking the youngest one, thinking that the youngest one wouldn't know, what was happening, and they kill the other kid. They kill her eldest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
It's wild. So that's the, a son for a son, situation. And she just sinks into this deep depression. They get out, by the way. They actually make it, for a while. One of them is captured, though. I can't remember which one it is. Yeah, King Aegon orders that all rat catchers in the city be hanged. Right? That's kind of crazy.
Well, that sounds like good advice.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, this is so the cats now then show up. You know, we talk about Arya chasing cats and things. Sir Otto Hightower brings in hundreds of cats into the Red Keep to take their place, which is nuts. But yeah, so I mean, who are they? One of them gets away. I think it might be the rat catcher. I think he gets away, but or maybe he was one of those that was hung. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they capture somebody else and kind of torture him and figure out what happened and how it was that he was led around. They don't even know all the secret passageways because I believe that rat catcher is the one who knows and gets away. And they find out that Damon is Cheese.
Yeah. You missed some parts about Cheese here.
Go ahead.
As a Mushroom tells us that Cheese knows the Red Keep better than the shape of his own.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Better than his own member.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it talks about how the Tower of Hand was less secure. The two men crept up through the walls. It's probably the same tunnel that Varys leads Tyrion through.
Could be, yeah, could be. So I don't know. That's the first sort of two princelings, air quote, are killed in this chapter, and now these families are enraged at each other. And everyone is set, and it just takes it to another level, Mm-hmm. The Greens strike against the Blacks first, and then Daemon strikes back through blood and cheese, and there you have it. I think into the next chapter, I can't remember where it is, but I think that Queen she has a lot of trouble recovering from that if she does recover. I honestly can't remember. I have to go back and
she doesn't eat. She doesn't eat. And stuff.
And she gets really. So, anyways, yeah, I don't know. And you know what, by the way, as I was reading, Aegon the Elder is a jerk. He's a freaking jerk, dude. He just
yeah, he is.
I mean, he's whoring around, whatever. Like, Helena, his wife, just is sort of like, can't, he's not in my bed. He's somewhere else. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm out on that. So, anyways, go Blacks. All right, until the next chapter, and then I'll change sides again. So
to the Greens. Yeah. All right, man. Let's move on over to the reread here. This week we are in chapter 53, Bran 6. The last week we were with Jon in Jon 7, where the bodies of two men that had accompanied Benjen Stark were found. Sir Jeremy Riker blames wildlings, but Sam had pointed out odd characteristics on the bodies. Back at Castle Black, Jon had learned that King Robert had died, and that Alistair Thorne mocks him. Jon attacks him, gets kind of punished, and then a White attacks Lord Commander Mormont, and Jon and Ghost kind of save him. The last time we were with Bran was Bran 5, which was chapter 37, so quite a while ago.
Yeah,
with Bran. Bran during his first ride outside Winterfell since his fall. Bran had learned that of Jaime Lannister's attack on his father. So wow, quite some time. So Robb goes ahead to find the direwolves, and this is where Bran gets attacked by Osha. Right. So, all right. So this week, Bran watches the Karstarks arrive, then goes out to the Godswood to pray. He is interrupted by Osha, who tells him about the old gods and the others. She insists that Robb should be marching north, not south. Bran passes her advice on to Maester Luwin, then Robb marches his army south.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, we get more information about the real threat beyond the wall, and you actually learn about, how the wildlings had kind of gotten around the wall,
And we also get to see a little bit more how the North operates, some of the other players in the North, some of the smaller houses, and the Umbers, right, and the Boltons. So
the Boltons, who just from the get go there, you look at some of the foreshadowing and just the way that they stare in their testing. So again, this is a call to banners, by the way. This
absolutely.
Robb has called the banners, and they are arriving. And so the Karstarks are there, and they don't look like what Bran thinks they should look like, and then he's just really, this is the first time he's seen these men. He's heard about them. He's heard about their sigils and their, who they are and what have you. But now he's seeing them, face to face here. So and he kind of describes these men as like big, fierce, faces covered with thick beards, hair worn loose past the shoulders. Their cloaks were made of skins and pelts of bears and seal and wolf. So yeah, he's just kind of, I think his eyes are opened a little bit. The world gets a little bigger when these folks show up, and yeah, and you know, there's this, as Sir Matt said, you know, we've got the Boltons are showing up, and I think that just the sigil talking about, like, do they really punish people the way that their banner suggests, you know, that kind of thing.
You know,
comes up.
Another thing about this too is, you know, Bran has a little bit of kind of internal monologue where it's not outright said, but as a reader, you see that Bran can kind of see things are changing for him, right? So, like, Bran talks about how, like, you know, he used to be able to climb, but now he can't do it anymore. And Maester Luwin is kind of teaching him, you know, make sure you know all the houses and things like that. So Maester Luwin is trying to look. You can see this is where he's trying to look out for him, and being like, you know, hey, if you can't be a knight, let's make you as like smart of a lord as possible, because that's going to be to your best benefit.
Right, exactly. Yeah, people will respect you for that. Yeah,
your wisdom,
your cunning and wisdom. Yeah. Yeah, they're still struggling with Rickon, by the way. You know, so he and Shaggy Dog are kind of, you know, we know that Robb is prepping to leave, and so that's causing him some turmoil. So we don't want to forget Rickon, because we do sometimes forget him. Yeah. Now
the show forgot him for about like 3 seasons.
Yeah,
so.
No kidding. Jiminy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Here's a good little just paragraph that I want to read, because I think it kind of talks a little bit about the houses and what have you. So, a year ago before, he would have visited the town even if it meant climbing over the walls by himself. In those days, he could run down the stairs, get on and off his pony by himself, and wield a wooden sword good enough to knock Prince Tommen to the dirt. He could only watch, peering out through Maester Luwin's lens tube. The Maester had taught him all the banners, the mailed fist of the Glovers, silver on scarlet, Lady Mormont's black bear, the hideous filleted man that went before Roose Bolton of the Dreadfort, a bull moose for the Hornwoods, a battle axe for the Serwins, 3 sentinel trees for the Tall Hearts, and the fearsome sigil of House Umber, a roaring giant in shattered chains. So there you go. You get some of the northern lords, northern houses showing up, and that's just a description of some of their, you know, sigils and banners and what have you. So, all right, then they kind of discuss just the number of men that are showing up.
About 12,000.
Yeah.
How many knights?
Right.
And so this is a line, right? We've talked a lot about it. But, you know, few enough, the Maester said, to be a knight you must stand in a vigil and a sept. And they talk about this. Is this where he talks about kind of like there aren't really knights in the north?
Right. There's not a lot. I mean, it ends up that there's what, like 600. There's a lot. There's actually still a significant number of them. It's just that the Manderleys still worship the 7. You know what I mean? Because they brought the 7 with them when they came north. But most of those houses don't. That doesn't mean that they're any less fierce or that they're less trained or what have you. Yeah, I mean, Maester Luwin almost kind of doesn't mock, you know, knighthood, but it's, you know, what makes a knight, you know? It just takes, I mean, as Dunk tells us, it takes a knight must, you know, makes a knight. So it's, I don't know, it just sort of
damn
depends.
straight.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's, so, I mean, I love that Bran's actually kind of, you know, he loves the stories, and that is a cool title, and it you know, something he kind of longed for. He wanted to be a member of the King's Guard or whatever, you know? That was his hope.
Yeah,
so,
now it's going to have to change because he can't, you know, he just can't fight.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right. So for near a fortnight, you know, there had been many just comings and goings. Robb ordered, you know, basically that once everyone got in there, that he had to feed everybody. So there's comings and goings. They're arranging different things, housing men, and you know, talking to the Karstarks show up. You know, so that's kind of a big deal. We learned too that Bran is now he's got the basket for Hodor and is kind of riding around on Hodor.
And that comes my favorite line ever, where he tells Hodor to take him back to the keep.
Yeah.
Favorite line ever. Hodor said Hodor.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's just he's actually telling Bran, like, or he's saying so many things right there, and it's just kind of unreal. It's crazy. Yeah, so he decides it's kind of overwhelming, and I think Bran wants to retreat at one point and goes to the Godswood, right? And is worried about Robb, wants to pray for him. He knows that his mother and father are away. Robb's his sisters are gone. Jon is gone, and so he's going to pray that just that the old gods kind of look over his brother, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. So, and actually, there's a neat part too when they get into the Godswood. Just Hodor, decides to strip down and hop into the pool, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the show shows that as well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually interesting, just because the water is not cold like you would think it is, but it's described in the book often as dark, still, silent, cold. This pool of water,
mm-hmm.
and people have theorized that where does it lead to? Where does it go?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it goes anywhere. It's part of the hot spring, probably. That Winterfell's built upon.
Sir Matt, I don't understand why you're
you know,
questioning years of
Sir.
No, I actually read this is a side note here. We'll just take a quick little aside. Up near, let's see, the Three-Eyed Crow, right? When Mira and Jojen are up there, the underwater rivers and caverns, they didn't know how far they went, and the children, like, it's basically believed that there's just this under network of like rivers that could connect you. You could ride a river all the way underground to various places, and that the children were connected to those places, and they had this underground, as Lord Adam Parker would say, from the earth wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
like there's something going on down there, So anyways, I don't know. I just thought I'd mention it. There's something there. So yeah, actually, this is where Asha kind of, as he's praying, he hears, like, he's praying to the gods, and she says, "They're answering you. Are you listening?" And it's the rustling of the leaves, right? It's the wind kind of blowing through the tree that is answering his prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was kind of cool, because it's almost like
that's kind of how the old gods talk.
Right. Yeah.
Or is it the children talking to him?
That, or is it Bran himself,
From the future,
from the future,
himself in the past?
Yeah.
That's something that I'm sure somebody has done, but I don't know if, because we in the show we never see Bran go back to kind of his own time and alter things or set things up or
mm-hmm.
whatever. If that would create like a time paradox or something. But if Bran does try to alter things within himself, maybe he can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe not. Yeah.
Because there was something a while ago, right, where we were talking about, and we talked about, like, somebody had theorized that it was something that was going on in a Ned chapter, where somebody had said that it was Bran doing something from the future.
Wait, what? Say that again.
There was something in a Ned chapter that we were talking about a while back where somebody had, I remember reading a comment that somebody had said, like, something happened and somebody said it was Bran from the future telling him something.
Yeah,
It was like a Fallout Friday or something we talked about, or like a theory, a Raven.
I mean, once we saw that in the show, it's sort of like at any point, if there's a werewood nearby, how could he influence? You know what I mean? And also,
people talked about when Ned dies, if Bran was there telling him it's going to be okay or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's even, you don't even have to, like, Bran is even special in that, like, he has that, I believe, kind of that, look what Jojen has, except for more like that green sight, almost just like Blood Raven, a little bit. So it's all kind of mixed in there. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But it's kind of what it seems like to me. Okay, now, really, Asha kind of talks to him a little bit. He's just praying that Robb won't go away, but he understands why he is, and recalls the words of his father. And Robb's talking to him about, like, what their plan is, and just that he can tell this is getting serious. So Rickon doesn't want him to go, is pleading with them to not go. Shaggy Dog is out of control, biting people, tearing flesh from people's limbs, which is nuts. And then you get into basically this vying for who is going to be at the head of the marching force with Robb. Is it Roose Bolton? Is it Robert Glover? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Mage Mormont? Who is going to be like Robb's right hand, person? I guess is the question. So there's a lot of vying back and forth there.
Well, you can be a right hand person as long as you have fingers. I don't know if Jamie can be a right hand man anymore, but
yeah, he's out.
As long as you still, as long as you got some nubs, you still got a hand.
So. Right, but he's out. He's like, because that is really what happens, right? Is that the Great John is the one who kind of challenges him, right? So he's getting various types of challenges, each night in the hall when he's entertaining, the great lords, and they're kind of testing him, just to see what he's going to do. They'll make these comments or these these slights, and it's all about how is he going to handle it, how is he going to treat his men. And I think, the Great John is the one who basically calls him out, gets the most reaction. Correct?
Yeah,
right
absolutely, yeah. I don't have the quote. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah, it's just he's and then and when Lord Umber, who was called Great John by his men, and stood as tall as Hodor, twice as wide, threatened to take his forces home if he was placed behind the Hornwoods or the Serwins in the order of the march. So when they want to, it's all about the order. Robb told him he was welcome to do so. And when we're done with the Lannisters, he promised, scratching Grey Wind behind the ear, we will march back north, root you out of your keep, and hang you for an oathbreaker. And then so that, pisses off the Great John. He throws whatever, he's cursing, and, actually bares his blade and actually, unsheaths his sword. And all along the benches, right, everyone else.
They talk about how it's like a big... That's a big sword.
Well, and also it's the crazy. He's had he has the protection. I mean, he's already it's super against what is it, the rights of
right.
Yeah, he's ate his meat and his salt and meat, whatever, and yeah, everybody else kind of jumps up and goes crazy, pulls out their swords, grabbing for their steel. Robb only said a quiet word and in a snarl, and in the blink of an eye, Lord Umber was on his back, his sword spinning to the floor 3 feet away, his hand dripping blood where Grey Wind had bitten off 2 fingers. So, basically, you don't, come on.
Yeah, don't mess with it, man.
Don't mess with it. You're drawing your blade, and acting like you're going to attack, the king in the north here. I mean, I don't know, man. Kind of crazy.
Well, he's not the king in the north.
He's the king.
But he will be.
He's the king. So, anyways, yeah, the Great John actually starts laughing. He actually starts to laugh hysterically.
I know,
which is
funny.
Great.
It's done really well in the show too.
Yeah, it is. And then Robb does a great job of also kind of saying like, basically, I know that you were only unsheathing your sword to cut my meat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's he says that your meat is it's bloody tough, So they kind of bond, and actually, after that, Bran notes that like they become besties.
Yeah.
He's actually the biggest supporter of Robb, and just like was proud of him in a sense. So
well,
yeah,
as he should be, man.
As he should be.
Fingers, okay?
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of Davos, right? And Stannis taking his fingers. It was just interesting. So, all right, they're concerned about Arya and Sansa. The letter that Sansa had to write. Didn't mention anything about Arya, so that was concerning. To the Starks. So and she says
Right.
nothing of Arya, nothing, not so much as
they
a word.
don't know anything about her, right?
Yeah.
If she's dead or alive or captured.
Yeah, damn her, what's wrong with the girl? And it's just like, she was forced to write that. They dictated it to her, so yeah, I don't know. Bran felt all cold inside. She lost her wolf, he said weakly, remembering the day when 4 of his father's guardsmen had returned from the south with Lady's bones. Summer Greywind and Shaggy Dog had begun to howl before they crossed the drawbridge. So there's that connection to the wolves and them understanding that Sansa is in trouble without her wolf. That's something Lady Catelyn kind of talks about a lot. So,
yeah.
Okay. Where else do we need to go here in this chapter? So he's actually still in the Godswood, kind of thinking about all of that.
Yep. And this is where he calls Summer to him. Like, what are you doing here? He had not seen Osha since they'd taken her captors in the Wolf's Wood. They are my gods too, Osha said. Beyond the wall, they are the only gods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's neat. She kind of, no one was taking her story serious, and Bran just growing up on the tales of old Nan, and also I even think being crippled, would want to believe even more in them, and powers and magic, and wanted Maester Luwin to teach him magic and talks to her about magic. So he's intrigued by the stories that she can, kind of tell.
Him, right.
Yeah. So even when she starts to talk about the gods are actually, they listen, they're answering, you just have to know how to hear them. The leaves are rustling, she says. And then he says that's all that's happening is that the leaves are rustling. She says, who do you think sends the wind, if not the gods? So. Yeah. Oh, goodness. And then he asked, what are they saying? And she says, they're sad. Your lord brother will get no help from them, not where he's going. The old gods have no power in the south. The werewoods there were all cut down thousands of years ago. How can they watch your brother when they have no eyes? And that's a really good point. That's a lot of, the limitations of the old gods or the children or what have you, just can't see where there are no werewoods. And I think that's sort of why they want a three-eyed crow. They want Bloodraven. They want a green seer. Someone who is not limited to.
Maybe that's why the Night King is interested in Bran.
Yeah. I think it's sort of, they have those powers to see beyond, outside of what you would call the werewood network, as Matt calls it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it definitely is a thing.
It is. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then they talk about Hodor having giant's blood, and that's sort of what, because he comes back dripping wet, and Osha kind of sees him, right, and talks about, swears that, there's truly giants, or actually Bran asks, are there truly giants beyond the wall? Because she comments on that, like, surely he must have giant's blood, which is just super cool to think about. But, yeah, and so she says, giants and worse than giants, lordling. I tried to tell your brother when he asked these questions, him and your maester, and that smiling boy, Greyjoy. The cold winds are rising, and men go out from their fires and never come back. Or if they do, they're not men no more, but only wights with blue eyes and cold black hands. Why do you think I run south with Stiv and Hali and the rest of them? Mance thinks he can fight them. The brave, sweet, stubborn man, like the White Walkers, were no more than rangers. But what does he know? He can call himself King Beyond the Wall all he likes, but he's still just another old black crow who flew down from the Shadow Tower. He's never tasted winter. I was born up there, child, like my mother and her mother before her, and her mother before her, born of the free folk. We remember. Asha stood, her chains rattling together. I tried to tell your lordling brother, only yesterday when I saw him in the yard. I called to him, respectful as you please, but he looked through me, and that sweaty oaf, Greatjoy Umber, shoves me out of the path. So basically, she's just, she's tried to tell him what's happening there, and no one's listening.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be the kind of the moral of the story, as we people don't believe it until they finally see. I'm not even so convinced Cersei believes it, really.
Yeah.
Even if you want to talk about like where we're at now, like season 8, I know she saw it, but it doesn't seem to me like she's really like, whatever, they'll deal with it.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I don't know that she's a true believer. Yeah. So I don't know. Until you see it, until you face it, it's one thing, and that's the thing. Asha's born there. She knows what this is like, and she describes him to a T, though. Like the blue eyes and the hands cold as black, and she knows that they're whites. She's actually seen them, and I think that is what forces them to, go out to get beyond the wall. And I think it doesn't it say that they actually sail around?
I mean, dude, even Mance Rayder. Right? If Mance Rayder amasses an army of like 100,000, he is like, I'd rather march towards Castle Black than take an army of 100,000 against however many they have.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right.
I mean,
all right.
you'd also have to imagine. This is a question for you. How is it that none of the wildlings we know have any idea how to kill White Walkers?
Yeah. Well, I think no one.
You
knows,
would. I mean,
right? I mean.
Well, I mean, Sam figure. I mean, I know Sam stabs one or whatever, but there are books on it and stuff like that, and I mean, not on like, hey, how to kill a White Walker 101 or anything, but you would just you would have to think that at some point somebody would have killed one, and somebody would have had a general idea as to how to do it.
Yeah, and that is sort of what like the folly with the wildlings is they don't write anything down. They don't have
so it has to be a tale that's told.
Yeah, exactly. And did it get lost or because at one point they had to have known, and it's just like it was something that was forgotten even by those who keep records. So I see what you're saying though. Like how is it? Because that's Sam. That's his whole thing is he has to go research it and figure out.
Right. Well, because they because who is it that it's Sam and those guys find like a stash, right? Like they find the stash of obsidian. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we were just talking about actually Lord Adam Parker opened my eyes to the fact that it was a fresh crow's cloak, that it wasn't like something that maybe it was the cold had preserved it, but like it seemed recent and fresh.
It seemed fresh, yeah.
And I was kind of taken back, but I never that's not something, a detail I remembered or what have you. But so yeah, anyways, it's just mentioned that Maester Lewin listens carefully, talks about how wildlings can give old Nan a lesson in telling tales, right? So just that, like, it's a great tale. There's really just doesn't believe it. And so they continued to kind of make preparations to march south. And Bran kind of says, he'll listen to me. I'll go tell him. But it's Maester Lewin who he ends up running across and tries to talk to him about the story that Asha had told him, and he won't let him bother Robb with that story.
Yeah, because he thinks it's a joke.
Right.
And Robb's busy trying to amass an army.
Right, and trying to already, even with his own bannermen, he's playing air quote the Game of Thrones, and that he's trying to entertain them the right way, show them that he's strong,
right?
All that stuff, politics, So yeah, I mean, and it kind of ends with just them, preparing to march and getting on their war horses and heading off. Really, they have to kind of. I think Robb goes up to kind of talk to Bran and talks about the Great John and how scared he was. He's like, I actually thought he was going to kill me. So he sends Greywind after him and what have you. So he kind of has that moment with Bran where he's not Robb the Lord, as Bran calls him, and it's a good moment. I'm glad they have it because, this is it when, Bran is going to be in charge. He's going to be in charge of things.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so. And then Robb marches south, and then Bran's in charge, and knowing the pieces too, it's like, I see how the story all unfolds.
Yeah. Also, one last line here we'll mention. So, with the distant cheers that had faded to silence, the yard was empty at last. Winterfell seemed deserted and dead. Bran looked around at the faces of those who had remained, women, children, and old men, and Hodor, the huge stable boy, had a lost and frightened look to his face. Hodor? He said sadly. Hodor, Bran agreed, wondering what it meant.
Wow.
Just, I mean, come on. It's just, It's crazy.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? It kills me.
No, it kills him.
It does. It does. Truly does. Oh my gosh. Well, let me think here. I think I do have. So, any cool connections there, Sir Matt?
I mean, you just said it, man.
Yeah, I know that.
He wonders what Hodor means.
I know, don't we all? I know. Yeah. So, real quickly, just had a quick little raven here from Lady Shannon from Canada there, who basically says winter is here with a vengeance. It's -10 up there at back when she'd sent this to us.
God.
Yeah.
That sounds awful.
I know. It was so she's kind of talking about the opening scene shows the 3 Night's Watch dudes, right? They see the White Walkers. Okay. 2 of them die. Cut to Ned chopping the 3rd dude's head off. He said that he was so scared that he didn't even go back to warn his black brothers. How did he get south of the wall? Yeah, that is interesting. I'm thinking back.
My guess is he used one of the tunnels or something that one of the Night's Watch guys would have known about.
Yeah, and I don't know. I actually think, and show versus book here, I'm trying to remember. I think he maybe just goes back to. It's actually it's the older guy who actually I think makes it back in the book. But either way, I think he maybe gets back and he's just talking craziness, even if he is kind of warning his black brothers. I think when he's at Castle Black, then he takes off. I think he actually does make it back. I think he gets through the wall just in the normal way, and then just like Jon, he wasn't watched or whatever, and then takes off in the night and
right
just leaves. I think that might be the simple answer. But
yeah, because maybe he gets back to Castle Black, tells them what he saw, and even
no one believes him.
Some people at Castle Black don't believe about the White Walkers, right? Like they know it would be a wildling, or
Yeah. I mean, because he is rambling about that to Eddard Stark, later. And the reason I thought I would pull this one and talk about it now is just like Osha talks about how they had sailed around the wall, and how the wildlings did that.
You and I have talked about that before. Where it's like. Seems so obvious to me. I would just sail around it.
Right, exactly. There's actually another situation here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Where the King Beyond the Wall actually took many forces through the wall, supposedly, and one of the old Stark kings had to beat them back. We were just looking at it when we were doing the Green Dream. That's all right. I'll come back to it. So we know that they can climb over the wall. We know that there are ways in which Cold Hands kind of helps Sam get through the wall. Just that this is a way in which someone who has said the vows and someone who is of the Night's Watch can get through when he has Gilly. Later on.
Right.
But there's not a lot of ways to get through it. There are tunnels though. Somewhere I saw, and I was just looking on the timeline here. The idea that there were other tunnels, or that the wildlings had actually tunneled under the wall at one point. But anyways, I don't know. That was something I saw, and then that was the Starks had to kind of fight them and beat them back. Here we go. That's the Night King. Never mind. That's different. Anyways, yeah. So I don't know. It's a good question, and sometimes it seems. Like, why don't more wildlings do that? And why don't they just try to integrate into the culture? It's like they I think they hate the Southerners just as much as
right.
They're hated by Westeros.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just my thought.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's definitely probably some truth to that, because I think there's probably a lot more easier ways of getting south, right? Because like Skagos, right? We talked about Skagos, the island to the east of kind of the wall, where that's technically not considered wildlings there, although they kind of refer to them as if they pretty much are wildlings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like if somebody were to come from Skagos, they wouldn't say anything. Like they wouldn't be like, "You're a wildling. You're it's illegal for you to be here." But they basically kind of view them as wildlings.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. One. So I just found it actually. When you look at the timeline that's on just the wiki of Ice and Fire, about 3,000 years before the conquest, the wildling invasion, the free folk, the wildlings unite under the kings beyond the wall.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And
they
I remember
made
looking at that.
Right.
When we were looking at that.
Yeah, for the Green Dream, yeah. And they managed to evade the Night's Watch, bypass the wall in great numbers using a network of tunnels that extended under the wall. However, they're met by the Stark King on the other side and are eventually thrown back. Not many more details about it. And again, this is one of the murky, 3,000 years ago, what was really happening, who were the kings beyond the wall. They're talked a little bit about. Is it Gendel and Gorn, right? The Horned Lords is said to have used magic to pass the wall 1,000 years. So that maybe he used magic. Maybe there was some other way that they got around or got through the wall. So I just bring that up because it's a good question. How do you get through it? What are ways? Are there other ways to go around it, over it, through it, under it? Because it seems to be something that the Night King himself is struggling with. We think, anyways. So, All right, yeah, I think that is it. It is time to man the wall, actually, and I just want to give another quick plug to our Patreon. We've got two really good, got a musing up there. I've got one that I want to do later this weekend with Sir Matt. Just some of my own stuff out of the books. We've been talking about season 8. Gosh, we were just going to have, I think, March is probably, if you ever wanted a month to sign up for Patreon, this is the month, to be quite frank.
Yeah, because we just recorded a lot of content.
And we're not done. I mean, there's actually more.
We're not even close.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Some cool stuff. We have a Raven's Nest coming up soon. Did we pencil a date down for that?
Yeah, right now I think we're thinking the 31st of March for that.
Okay.
I know that Lord Adam Parker is, I don't know if he sent it to us yet, but he is sending us one that he said is roughly 40 minutes long. So as soon as he sends that to us, I'm probably just going to do an episode where I just kind of read it as a standalone episode. That way people can kind of listen to that before we get into Raven's Nest, so that won't take
gotcha,
40
yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. What we could do is, when we have something bigger like that, it doesn't matter who it is. If you want us to do a standalone,
we've definitely had other people send us really long, detailed ones as well before.
Yeah.
So
we might even be able to bring him on and have him discuss it first, and then what we could do, is have other folks who want to comment on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go from there. I think he said it's something about the Crypts of Winterfell, and what was nuts is I posted in the group recently that we already have just the nest is full. There is so many ravens that are good, that are really good, and I'm excited to read. And so even if you're not on Patreon and you want to send something that will be discussed on the show, send that to btkcast@gmail.com. I mean, it's nice to have sort of our bannermen discuss it, talk about it, and it's just I think it's fun to. Those are those have turned into some of my favorite episodes. Getting to meet some of our listeners and what have you. So
it's a lot of fun. It's tons of fun doing that.
Yeah. All right. Also, a quick shout out here to all of our bannermen. We've got Lord Jason of House Ross, Lord Hunter the Foulmouth, Captain of the Guard. We've got Lady Amanda of House Richardson, Lord Adam the Young Bull of House Parker, Sir Peter of House Whittingham, the Ghost of Harrenhal, Lord Thanos of House Titan, and Sir Dustin of House Walls, Captain of the Guard.
Yeah. So, alrighty, well, we want to thank you guys for playing the Game of Thrones. In our next episode, we will be discussing Chapter 54, Daenerys 6.
Yeah. If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a raven at btkcast@gmail.com.
We will see you in a week, and remember, fire and